So our Zeitgeist segment this is a super segment. I don't know how we're going to get to my patrons on Q&A. And it's about corporate slop. So we've been talking a lot about AI slop, and we're going to get to AI slop in the future. But what's enabling AI slop is corporate slop, where the AI slop is often better than the corporate slop. And our first example of this is that it's maybe the worst box office in 40 years, but that's just as far back as I took the numbers. If you adjust for inflation, it may have been the worst October box office ever. Or maybe 1982 was just really, really bad. So tell us about
you have to
this,
understand how a movie is made these days. There's a lot of authors now who will refuse to let a movie studio take their book, because you'll have the creator, which would be the director or somebody who has a vision or something like that, but then you have 5 or 6 or 12 producers come in, and these are studio representatives, and these are people who are like, oh, well, we're going to change. You know what? Make them black. You know, like, just completely switch this character around entirely. So for instance, in Dune, right? They took the one character who was Cheney's grandfather, I think. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but they took him and they changed him to an African-American female, which was not a terrible change, by the way. I really liked her performance and I thought it was great. But it is exemplar of, you know what, the studio feels this change needs to be made to your story. And so corporate starts messing with the story.
Everything becomes designed by committee.
Yes. And that's the worst way to do anything. Has anyone ever worked on a group project? Write your book as a group project where everyone has to approve every decision. Do that. See how well it works.
And what's the very first thing that a committee kind of polishes off a creative work is the personality of the creator. And when there's no creator's personality left in the creation, suddenly how is it any better than something made by AI? Right? It's lacking its personality. It's lacking that clear creative vision. And the defense is, well, if we give all of the control over to this creative person, they might make bad decisions. And that's true. And it's not like there were no flops 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Look at M. Night Shyamalan. He had like first great 5 movies, right? I mean, The Sixth Sense, anything up to The Happening, or really the thing that killed him was The Last Airbender. But his movies before that were fantastic. I still watch Signs. I still watch The Village, which is one of the best movies ever made. But, you know, he has his stamp on these things. You know you're watching a Shyamalan movie because his personality is put on it. You know you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie. And those are almost all uniformly bad. But you know you're watching one.
It's not uncommon for the Critical Drinker review on YouTube to have more actual views than the movie does selling of tickets. And one of the things that the Critical Drinker has is a whole lot of personality.
Yes.
And people prefer the Critical Drinker YouTube version where he's just telling you about the movie for 7 minutes than actually watching the movie, because the actual movie has so little personality. And that's what people are desperate for. And if you're wanting to compete against corporate slop coming from big traditional publishers, which have the same problem, right? If you're a traditionally published author, there's a whole committee at Pub Board who's approving your book or not. And then there's a whole committee of people and sensitivity readers and all these different readers now, beta readers provided by the corporation, that will buff off your personality. And you have to be very careful to protect your author voice if you don't want your book to become corporate slop if it's published by a traditional publisher. Now, if you're indie, you're not protected necessarily, because you could totally be like M. Night Shyamalan's sixth film, which was awful, right? Because there is a sense that George Lucas had too much power over the prequels.
So the first Star Wars movie was studio corrected, and that was why it became something good. So in that usage case, it actually was a great thing. But he also didn't he have Spielberg with him?
You know, he had his wife. So the big difference was for the Star Wars films, George Lucas's wife helped him with all the romance and with the dialogue. And the two things that were weak in the prequels was the romance and the dialogue, because his wife divorced him and ran off with the painter of their mansion.
Probably because he was terrible at romance.
George Lucas built his wife a mansion, and she fell in love with like one of the construction guys, divorced him, took half of his money, and he was so bankrupted that he had to sell the portion of Lucasfilms that handled computer graphics. And there just happened to be this computer guy named Steve Jobs who bought that portion of the company, turned it into Pixar, and that's how it gets Toy Story. But we're way off topic, and we need to move on because Hollywood isn't the only corporate creative industry in turmoil. There are no rap songs, or at least a couple weeks ago, there was no rap songs in the top 100, in the Hot 100 top 40 for the first time in 35 years. So since like 1990, there has always been a rap song in the top 100 or Hot 100 top 40 until today. And I think that I have some theories as to why this isn't in some, and I'm curious to hear you, Jonathan, but I think what really killed it was the corporatization of rap. So hip hop and rap as a genre has always been a kind of an outsider medium, kind of a raging against the machine, pointing out the flaws in society. It's not a good genre to be run by a corporate committee. And if you look on the charts on iTunes, a lot of the top hip hop songs have been from Tom McDonald. If he's got a song that came out that week, he's almost always on the top 100. And he's got songs like "The Devil is a Democrat" and a song about Charlie Kirk, right? Like he's very anti-establishment. And what anti-establishment means now often means being conservative rather than being leftist, right? So like the establishment has changed, but the corporations making the decisions are the establishment,
right?
And they've kind of co-opted and they're leftist. And if you look at the rappers who are doing really well, because I listen to a good amount of rap, particularly indie rap, and the rappers who are doing the best are people like Connor Price, Tom McDonald, Dax, and it's been very fascinating to watch. Dax has gone through like a religious conversion over the last few years. When I was researching this piece, I watched some of his new stuff and was like, when did this guy become a Christian? His music became very Christian. And his previous persona was like kind of chaotic evil, like the Joker, kind of evil laughter. And now he's like preaching about getting sober and not drinking alcohol and like repenting of sin and like worshiping Jesus. And like, what happened to you, Dax? This is incredible. Connor Price is a Christian. Tom McDonald is going through this. So one of the things that's happened in corporate music is it's become very satanic. If you watch the Grammys, they literally have people like worshiping Satan in the performance, dressing up like Satan, doing sacrifices. Like it used to be kind of this conspiracy theory of like, this heavy metal music is satanic. And now they're just like, here's my song, worshiping Satan. It's like, it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. But the thing is, there's some people who are into that, but a lot of people are like, I don't really want music to worship Satan. In fact, they're like, I'd rather listen to something made by AI than some corporate slop that's worshiping Satan.
That's
right?
been
Like
weird
if
for
those
me
are
this
the
week.
choices, they're like, and it's interesting because some of the AI music that we're going to get to, because AI music is now topping the charts, not the hip hop charts yet, but the country music, #1 country music song right now is an AI song, and but we'll get there. But I think there's some other issues with the kind of shift away from hip hop. And Jonathan, I don't know if you listen to any hip hop music or what your thoughts on that. The chat is flying faster than I can.
But I track it. I know. I'm watching it. I'm I'm watching them. The thing with that rap is going through is the same thing that made corporate slop in the first place, which is lawyers. The reason why corporate culture exists and why HR exists and all the memes about The Office and Dilbert and everything exists is because of lawyers. Lawyers are the ones that said everyone has to mask. Because we'll get sued. And so it's basically everyone protecting themselves against being sued.
Lawyers, so lawyers HR director energy.
Yeah,
There's some real HR director energy in corporate hip hop right now. And I'm sorry, no hip hop fan is like, you know what I want more of in this song? HR director energy.
Yeah, right, exactly. So you have this energy now going into rap, which has been around for a while, which is enough time for it to get systematized. Before, you just had a bunch of angry guys who were doing their art. And if you want to call rap art, I'm being generous right now. I don't like rap. But you have these lawyers and HR now starting to get involved. And more, it's the PR reps. Because now there's a severe danger to an artist's livelihood if they say the wrong thing. Unless somehow you're Kanye West, because if you don't say that reputation damaging thing every 3 or 4 months, then you're not Kanye West. The problem is rap as content is, like Thomas is saying, it's outsider. It's provocatory. It is not meant to be establishment. It's supposed to be attack the system. It's supposed to be young and rebellious. And
but the young rebellious people are more like Charlie Kirk, and the current corporate rap is nothing like Charlie
well,
Kirk.
in the 90s it wasn't.
Right.
Charlie Kirk could not thrive in the 90s because rap was what thrived in the 90s, because life was generally good, and so everyone attacked the system because, that's what it was. And then we got to the point where we're at now, where rap had its thing for a while, and there was a lot of deconstruction that happened because of rap. People attacked the family. People attacked clean living. They attacked the English language. There's so many articles right now on how the fact that if you speak cleanly, it's colonial. It's colonialism. You've been colonized. And it's stupid. It's stupid. I almost used another word there.
And that attitude doesn't understand what rap is, because rap was the one preservation of Western poetry and the Western poetic forms, because the Academy completely rejected rhyming and meter and formal structure for poetry. And the only place you could find that for decades was in rap, this counterculture, but it was rejecting that academic elitist culture that had rejected the forms of civilization. And they're like, no, we're going to do this and we're going to make it competitive. We're not just going to have these forms, poetic forms, but we're going to do it in a very masculine way, right? We're going to have a rap battle that follows meter and rhyme.
Exactly. And you had dance-offs. And this was so great for that generation. They wanted to be in fights like this. And the movies that came out were just dumb, or it was like cheerleaders dancing off against each other and stuff. It was like dumb to me. Okay. But it really resonated with the people at the time. Okay. But now you don't have that anymore. We're not there anymore. Now people are more like, you know what? We need to get back to when life was good.
And the insiders and outsiders have shifted. And so rap as an outsider medium, kind of like blues as an outsider medium, the outsider perspective is get married to one woman, love only her, and have children with that one woman, right? That's the outsider anti-establishment position.
Actually,
now.
As of this past week, it's not anymore.
I still think that you can argue
it just transitioned.
I disagree. I think one tweet does not mean that.
No, the polygamy thing is now the outsider position, and I'm making the prediction it's going to be way bigger.
See, I disagree. Actually, I think that polygamy is exactly what kind of mainstream rap has been advocating for, right? Where the rapper brags about all the women that he has, and this whole hypergamy, where you have one man and multiple women. The difference now is that people are trying to attach that to institution of marriage. But I think that the Christian sexual ethic, broadly understood, is very much an outsider position now. It's not mainstream. It's not supported by any of the major institutions. And it's becoming what actual popular rap, like if you want to be a outsider now, you have to be more like Charlie Kirk and more like Connor Price and more like Tom McDonald and less like Eminem. Because Eminem is not Eminem anymore.
Right. He's not Eminem. And a lot of Eminem fans are mad about that.
Yeah, he's lost his way and he doesn't really understand what the insiders and the outsiders are. And while his technical proficiency at rhyming and meter and beats and all of that's still really good, people would rather listen to the Tom McDonald song on an Eminem beat than an Eminem song on an Eminem beat.
But what is really interesting from a zeitgeist perspective is who still is popular and has been perennially popular? Weird Al. Because he's a genius with lyric and music.
I think that Weird Al has never been popular in the mainstream, but his weird, nerdy subculture is very
I
loyal
don't
to
know.
him.
He has a serious following. I don't listen to rap, but I love Amish Paradise. Love it.
All right,
Okay.
we need to
So,
move on to our
well, yeah,
next.
we're moving on.
We're
First of
going
all, for
quick.
the people,
Somebody go bail me out. Go to the if you're a patron, go to the patrons only Q&A link and just post in the chat there that Thomas might be a little bit late, because I want to hit all these stories together because they're all linked, and we need to talk about the AI powered artists debuting on the airplay charts, because it has happened and it will happen soon if it hasn't happened already in publishing, but we know for sure it's happened in music. Jonathan, what's the story?
All right. So one quick thing for the people in the chat. Me and Thomas are white. We are not doing a rap battle. Okay. I can't even rap presents. Okay. I'm not doing a rap battle.
A form of art without actually having any
I have no
capability
rhythm.
in that. I love watching football, terrible at football. I love listening to rap, terrible at rap. And I really enjoyed Dax's evolution, I will say. Dax, I was really enjoying doing research for this segment. And if you don't know who Dax or Tom McDonald are, there's a beautiful world of indie rap, and these guys are making a killing. They're making more money than the mainstream rappers because they're selling songs directly to their listeners. Tom McDonald makes millions and millions of dollars selling CDs. He sells like tens of thousands of CDs every album release, often because he sometimes doesn't make them available on Spotify. His whole business model is very copyable for indie authors, but AI.
Now I just have this visual of you in your office jamming out when you're not on the microphone. Anyway, moving on to the AI.
Yeah,
stuff.
please save me.
All right.
This is not me having my 40th midlife crisis. I'm cool. I listen to hip hop like the kids. And like,
man.
you know, the kids don't listen to hip hop, right? That's why it's not in the top 40. Don't tell me that. I'm cool. I'm totally cool.
I'm awesome. Anyway, AI artists are starting to top the charts now. One is, I don't know how to say this correctly, Zanaya.
I think so. Zanaya Monáe.
Zanaya Monáe, which is an entirely AI-created R&B singer who's become the first known AI artist to debut on a Billboard radio airplay chart. The track is How Was I Supposed to Know? It landed on the adult R&B airplay chart in early November, and it charted, which is kind of
on the radio, I believe.
yeah,
this
on the radio.
Is a charting of the radio.
And then there's Breaking Rust, which is just the weirdest genre for AI to do well in. Breaking Rust is an AI country act that's taken things a step further by topping the Billboard Country Digital Song Sales Chart with Walk My Walk. That means country has gotten so sloppy that a robot can do better than most of the country guys who are singing. It is the first time an AI persona has hit #1 on a US Billboard chart. And Billboard is reporting that they think at least 6 AI or AI-assisted artists have charted in recent months. And this is not like auto-tune, because I remember the auto-tune controversy.
All the songs have auto-tune now.
All of them do. Yeah, absolutely. Even artists who are live performing probably aren't singing. We know about lip syncing. It's just hard for them to hear the music when there's a crowd screaming at them. So your live performance is a recording. This isn't like that. This is now the source material itself has been AI generated.
And I was talking with my wife about this, and I was playing this game with her that she did not like, where I was just playing song after song on Spotify and asking her if it was AI or not. She's like, I don't like this game. Because we want to be able to tell. We want to be able to know, oh, this is obviously AI. This is obviously not AI. And when the humans are using autotune, it becomes really difficult to know when it's AI and when it's not AI. And what does AI even mean? So if you have a human who's guiding the prompting of the lyrics,
right,
and guiding the instructions to Suno AI or whatever AI music generator that you're using, in some ways you have a human who's kind of playing the AI as an instrument, and the AI itself becomes the instrument. It's kind of like, well, oh, you just did that on AI. It's like, yeah, you just played that on a guitar. It's like, could you play guitar? Well, no, I couldn't play guitar. Could you make this song on AI? No, I couldn't make the song on AI. So in some ways, the AI itself becomes
is an acoustic guitar plugged into an amp, now an electric guitar, kind of thing. No, it's a difference in sound. So you're looking at a different way of using AI. So now this line is getting really blurry because you have the purists who are like, no AI ever. don't touch it, to trust not the machine, make not a machine in the likeness of a human mind, all those kinds of stuff. And then you have, artists who are like straight up prompting, be like, write me this song, perform this song, come in with some cool beats. And then you have the most people, which are going to be the ones in the middle using it fairly realistically.
I think the ways to success, one way is Oliver Anthony, where Oliver Anthony is not with a major record label. He doesn't answer to everyone. His music has a whole lot of personality, and he writes the kind of music that a corporate control board would not approve of. And his country music is really good, although I think he often gets put on the blues charts. But he would never get played on the radio because he doesn't have those corporate connections and because they don't like the kind of message that he has. But Richmond, North of Richmond was a masterpiece, but all of his later stuff is also really good. I really like Oliver Anthony. I love listening to Oliver Anthony while driving through the Texas Hill Country with my windows down. It's a vibe. When y'all come to Austin, if you get a chance to rent a car and go drive through the Texas Hill
Country,
it's
like playing Sweet Home Alabama. Okay,
listen to Oliver Anthony.
The right time for it.
I know he's not from Texas.
So here's
but it's very raw and it's very authentic. Well, hold on, let me finish this. The other approach is to kind of understand and embrace the AI and understand kind of what's happening. So there's this huge shift where people are thinking about making an AI song, and that's not what's happening. AI musicians, the humans using AI to make music, are making 1,000 AI songs, maybe 1,000 songs in a week under dozens of different names, artist names. And then they're using Spotify's machine learning algorithm to identify when the songs are good or not. So they're not using their judgment saying, I think the song is good. They're outsourcing their judgment to the algorithm. And so the algorithm will float up this song by Breaking Rust and put it at the top, which is not Breaking Rust's best song, in my opinion. Their Breaking Rust's best song is Whiskey Don't Talk Back. That stupid song's been stuck in my head all day. Doing research on this is risky, and now my Spotify algorithm is nothing but AI generated music. I was like, what have I done?
You poisoned your algorithm.
I'll never find the humans again. And so artists using AI will always win the numbers game. You can't. John Henry will never be able to hammer steel as hard as the machine is, right? At the end of John Henry's story, he dies. That steam engine is going to beat him. And so you can't beat the AI at the AI's game, but you can become like the AI and compete in the AI's game. And so you either have to embrace the AI and embrace kind of this rapid release, carpet bombing, let the machine learning algorithm determine what's good approach, or you have to go Oliver Anthony. I feel like those are the two paths to success that you can use as an author.
So you're going to have your, like I say this all the time, your voice is your most important resource. You need to refine your voice and become even more confident in your ability to create. And you want to be what AI needs to imitate in order to work, because AI has to draw from somewhere. And so you want to be the thing that people are prompting AI with. Give me this in the tone of Thomas Umstattd Jr. Yell at me about why I don't have a podcast yet in the tone of Thomas Umstattd Jr. Yell at me about my website's SEO.
Say Zeitgeist 3 times really loud in the voice of Thomas
your heels.
Yeah.
So here's some practical takeaways on how this is going to affect our industry. It's hitting music right now. It is going to hit us too. All right. So don't do a pen name. The time for that is over. Right now, your most marketable trait is authenticity. Being able to prove you're human. I wrote this with my meat hands, which, is going to be a tagline of the show, I guess. Do a human narrated audiobook, even if you're reading it yourself. There was a big controversy on this on X a while ago for somebody who said, no, you need to have a studio doing it, so it's the best possible. I don't agree with that. I think an author is completely capable of telling their own story. They just need the confidence. Have the confidence to tell your own story.
It doesn't have to be you. You don't have to be the human narrating your audiobook, but it has to be a human, because AI, the kind of authors writing a dozen books a week with AI are not then paying $3,000 per book to have a human narrator narrate it. That's not how the game is played. And so when you invest the money as a signal, it's like the peacock feather saying, hey, I believe in this book. I'm a real human. I invested in this book and it has a human narrator. It's a really clear signal to readers saying, this is a real book written by a real human who's willing to invest real dollars. Because that's the other thing. AI doesn't have money, right? How do we keep the AIs off of authormedia.social? We just put up a paywall. It's only $9 one time, but that's all it takes to keep the bots out because the bots don't have access to cash.
I'm going to create a stamp since everyone else is doing this, apparently. I'm going to create a stamp of approval and it just says made by meat. We're just going to put that
typed with meat hands.
Books and audio. A meat hand, you know, hand of Saruman, you know, just slap it on there. Make sure you're growing your email list. You need to have your readers coming to you and need to have contact with them. Go out to farmers markets, go to the digital equivalent of farmers markets. Royal Road is a good place to grow this if you're within certain genres. Just make contact with people who are enjoying your journey and enjoying your product and your content that you are making, because people will grab onto that when they can't trust anything anymore that's coming out of corporate. All right. When Disney makes their full AI made movies, which they're gonna do, Coca-Cola is already doing entirely AI made commercials. That's coming, and people are not going to trust it, and they're going to reach for authenticity, which is always a return to local, indie, organic, grass-fed, you know, whatever. You need to make sure that you are that, and that's part of your process of audience acquisition right now.
Another way to help compete with the AI is to go where the AI cannot go and be controversial in ways that AI cannot be controversial. And this is one area where conservative Christians have an advantage because AI is uncomfortable with the Christian sexual ethic. The more conservative you are, the less likely you are to be replaced by the AI, which has a very woke bias. Even Grok, everyone's like, oh, Grok is the least woke AI. It's like, okay, it's still super woke. They're all very woke. It takes a lot of work, and you have to really know what you're doing to make a based version of these AIs, which we do have in the Patreon Toolbox. So, by the way, we have a 100% based AI that you can talk to, and it will answer very differently than you'll get even from vanilla Grok or from ChatGPT.
So when your voice is actually refined to a certain point, it is going to be offensive in some area. It's going to break those corporate rules that AI is not allowed to break. You know, I released Semper Die 2 on Monday. And one of the things I did in there was like, oh, I couldn't remember how this particular speech went. Hey, write me this speech from a sergeant major on this particular aspect of this particular thing. And it said, I can't do that. This breaks my rules. I was dying laughing. And then I had to go search YouTube manually to try to find how it was supposed to be phrased. Oh, it was so funny.
You should have tried Grok. Grok might have given you the speech. Some other things that you can do is sell direct. So using Kickstarter and Patreon, there's not a lot of AI on those platforms because of the friction of using those platforms and because of the need for that direct connection. Create video content, right? You are reasonably sure that Jonathan and I are humans because of this video content, and embrace interacting with your readers in real life. If you come to the Novel Marketing Conference, which we still have like a couple tickets left, most of the tickets are sold out, but there's still a few tickets remaining. You can find out more at novelmarketingconference.com, and you can come and meet us in real person, in real life, shake our hands, and realize that whether or not we're AI or not. And, you know, if it turns out that we're just holograms on screen, you can be angry with everybody else at the event. So one thing I will say is that, I guess that's enough we can say on this. A lot of people are angry at this, and they're disillusioned. They're like, this AI music is soulless.
Yeah.
But the corporate slop you've been listening to for the last 30 years has
never had
soulless.
Soul.
Taylor Swift never wrote those songs. She might have written her very first songs, but there's a whole committee now that writes her songs. This is true for all of the artists. It's all been soulless the whole time, which is why we created this soulless corporate slop environment that the AI is really able to thrive in. And if you want to compete, you have to get that kind of edgy, human, strong
Yeah,
personality, not for everyone kind of voice to kind of stand out, because AI is going to be able to make a generic country song about whiskey not talking back just as good as some corporate record label can do. Or
exactly.
better put, the AI can create 1,000 of those songs, and the one that floats to the surface can outcompete the one song that the record label is able to make with the same amount of effort.
Let me leave you out with one story. And this is the mentality I think authors should have. At the Battle of Marathon, when the Persians came and the Athenians forced them back, they attacked them at the landing. They didn't let them get off their ships, and they basically just killed them all in the water. The Spartans showed up late. And so when the Spartans showed up, all the Athenians were making fun of them because they hadn't shown up to the battle, which is like the Spartans' whole deal. You're supposed to be here. And the Athenians are doing it. And the Athenians are like, you've been making fun of us this whole time. You know what the Spartans did? They studied the Persians' weapons. So they took the ribbing that the Athenians gave them, but they went around and they studied the Persians' weapons. And for the next 20 years, they armed their helots in the training time of the summer. They armed their helots with the Persians' weapons, and they trained against those. And so when the Persians showed back up, just like the Spartans knew they would come back, 300 of them already knew how to fight Persians. And they held that ground, and they did such devastating casualties because they studied and they knew ahead of time that it was needed. So you see what's happening in music. Study the weapons. Know how to apply it. Don't just go to us. Go to other people who have good thoughts on how to counter AI slop, because you're countering corporate slop now. It's just robot written corporate slop.
And don't be afraid to use tools that make your life easier. My son, my 5-year-old, was very excited because he got my wife bought him a 100-piece Spider-Man puzzle. And he was doing it all by himself. And so I walked by the table. He's like, "Look, Daddy, I did this all by myself." And he pieced together Spider-Man in the puzzle. But he was like, "But I'm cheating. I'm looking at the picture on the box."
Like, how many Spartans at Thermopylae, if you gave one of them an M240 Bravo, would have been like, "No, it's not human enough.
And
I'm
so
not as connected to it."
And I was like, "No, son, this isn't cheating. This is how you do a puzzle. You look at the picture on a box. You're not more virtuous because you made your life miserable, right?
Yes.
Somebody digging with a spoon is not more virtuous than somebody digging with a shovel. And somebody digging with a shovel is not more virtuous than somebody digging with a backhoe.
And someone gunning down hundreds of lightly armored attackers is not less virtuous than somebody doing it with a sword."